Good afternoon, Dr. Sharma, and once again, welcome to another session of Mental Health.
Good afternoon, Dr. Vasconcelos. Good to be back with you and the viewers.
Well, Doc, today is May 22nd, 2020, and we are in the middle of a pandemic. And as of right now, we have 5.1 million cases worldwide and over 300,000 people dead. And in the United States, we have in excess of 1.6 million individuals cases and over 95,000 people dead. So there are a lot of people that are dying. And today we would like to discuss loss, losing a loved one. And the question is, what are some negative reactions to loss?
Yes, Mark, it's a grievous time where we're losing loved ones, and we do share the grief of persons out there. That it's a pretty horrific time in our lives, in all lives, to see people go, and that's a loss that's happening through the COVID virus. So there's a significant grief, as we talked about before. Is a reaction to loss, and that's the most common reaction. And today we're going to look at other types of loss too, because people can lose physical property. We're losing human beings, which is the most valuable property in our life. The, the, the property people have, it's material and it can be replaced, but how can you replace a human being that's gone? So that's pretty sad to have persons lose loved ones at this time. And there's another type of loss that we could look at. Generally, we look at losses, material possessions, or loss of family and relatives and friends, but we can also lose parts of our own selves. That people can lose their self-esteem or lose the relationship that they value through broken up breakdown in relationships or marital breakups, discord, divorce. So there are several types of loss, and they all carry with it that emotional reaction of grief.
I was out there a little for a minute, but thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. And so the question becomes, how does an individual cope with loss, especially the loss of a loved one?
That's a critical thing, and we can know everything about how grief affects us. We can know the stages that we go through: a denial, feelings of anger, bewilderment, and period of bargaining, feeling depressed, and going through to the point of acceptance. But it's still a process of pain, and today we can look at how can we help persons to cope, and it's all a matter of coping. Simply put, the more support that that individual who is experiencing loss gets, the much better it is for them. But we can look at coping in three ways: one, through a physical way; two, through a psychological methods; and three, from a social point of view. Well, let's look at physically coping best. It's talking about being at our physical best. So to be able to manage the grief reactions which happen with loss, we need to be able to be strong in ourselves. If our immune systems are not strong, we're not going to be feeling very good. So we got to be able to feel well, feel good, be spiritually at our best. We can't allow thoughts of anger towards God for things that we don't truly understand. We got to know that things happen beyond our understanding and powers. We need to be humble in what's going through and learn the lessons of this terrible experience of the COVID loss that's causing so much grief. So physically, I think it's a critical way of getting to be able to cope well, to be able to exercise well, to be sure that our nutrition is good. And even if there are days when a person doesn't feel like eating, then they should at least try to get some supplements using liquid supplements. There's protein supplements and so on. So to be able to have that good diet is very important. So physical health, exercise, walks. I think walks are very healthy. That person can go out and get the fresh air and debrief the mind and in sort of a peaceful environment. We are lucky to have in Guyana the seawall, and hopefully your viewers in the States and so on will come and visit our seawall and feel the breeze, the Atlantic Ocean breeze. It's very healthy, it's very rejuvenating. I'm happy to see people going on the wall with their protective equipment, masks, and so on. So let's use healthy means. The other thing that we can do is to look at our psychological methods that are there. And we talked before about cognitive retraining of the brain, and it's a matter of how to view loss. If we see loss as irreparable harm or damage, it's irreparable, then it's hard for the person to come to terms and accept that there is loss. But if we see it as a meaning behind it, as a purpose to get better, to be stronger, so we can lose material things, as I said, can be replaced. They do matter. There is sentimental, many physical things that we have, and we value them. And for us to have someone steal our property, it's hard to feel good about that. And sometimes people languish in anger and allow that to take them over rather than letting it go and saying, well, let's work to get a replacement of it. How do we replace our persons that we've lost? So in terms of getting the brain to accept, we got to see mechanisms to change the way we think. So if we're seeing it as irreplaceable, don't see it that way. I often tell people that when we lose loved ones and death happens, it's so grievous, but there is an inevitable end to all our lives. And it's a matter of taking time and reflecting on what a person means to us, valuing their memories, seeing the beauty of their lives, and seeing how they are now in peace and without pain and suffering. And let us see the pluses out of the negative losses that are happening. So retraining our thinking, challenging our brains to thoughts that are not healthy, denying the presence of God and turning our minds against our maker and saying it's all your fault. It's not the way to go. But you would know more about how to help persons through that means. Sometimes in medicine, as you know, there is work together in terms of connecting spirituality to medical help because it's now one in isolation. And we want people to see that as we get better emotionally, we also have to strengthen our spiritual health, physical health, and our social health. So I think from the psychological point of view, getting that process of retraining our brain to see things in a much more positive way, to make our brains start to feel better, that as we are going through grief, there is a point of acceptance that will happen. And with that we should be a stronger person, that we're able to help others. And that brings us to the social way of coping with loss, which is very powerful. Getting the support from others. We have our programs helping to share words of comfort. The programs on the media, and a lot of good media people out there spreading words of cheer and comfort and hope, while there are people who would posit negative thoughts that, well, there's never going to be a vaccine, or we're all going to be stuck in this isolation zone forever and ever. There is an end point, and there's ways out of the difficult time. And there are positives that we're coming out with in terms of better sanitation, the need for our poverty-stricken brothers and sisters to be cared for, that their sanitation is better, that the slums must go away and everybody should have a fair access to care, health care, not only those people who can afford it, but every single human being is entitled to a decent living. So it's a massive job ahead, Mark. But I personally believe that this job can happen. And if we don't learn from this COVID crisis that we've been given a message that selfishness is not the way forward, we gotta be all in this together. We all affected by this virus. The rich, the poor, whatever class, whatever ethnicity, whatever race, we all being affected. We all suffering the loss, and we must reach out and support those who need. It is no point for people having enormous amount of wealth and trying to make more and trying to just share it with a small group of their family. Persons in government, for example, and politicians, they are the ones who are taking up a leadership role in society, and it is they're the people that we depend on to see that every single person in every country has a better way of life, that nobody should be going through what is happening now. For example, in Argentina, I heard that the persons in the slums don't even have water and they're telling them to wash their hands. How can they don't have water to drink? What are they talking about washing hands? So it is not right. And I think the lesson that we're learning through loss is that let us protect ourselves from that happening to us and to our brothers and sisters who are not so fortunate. I want to congratulate you and what you're doing through your programs, and we should thank you all for what you're doing from North Carolina for everybody. I know you're doing a lot for Guyana. There's community health activities that you do. People are now aware of some of these things, but people like yourselves, we need more of you, Mark. Having more people like you on this earth will be best for our people. It- Whatever crisis comes along, whatever it does to our people, we will come through. We'll be stronger. We'll be better people for that.
Dr. Sharma, all by God's grace, and thank you for what you do. Because just last month we were supposed to have our dental and medical outreach in Guyana, but it is just postponed. COVID 19 will not stop the work we're doing. And I thank you for touching on the physical, psychological, and social. And death is a reality of life. And many times, sometimes it can cause different reactions. We know sometimes it can be a sense of guilt that maybe I could have done something to save the person. It can be a shock with a sudden accident, and like my brother who was a pilot, and suddenly you get a call that a loved one is dead, and it's unexpected. But you touched on anger, and it's interesting because as also you touch on leaders, we know that a lot of times people die unnecessarily. A lot of times it could have been prevented. You have people like yourself and many groups that people can call, and there's a hotline and they can reach out. But sometimes people die just because of the lack of poor leadership. So I thank you for these sessions and to remind people of the importance of people like yourself, and whether it's a past to reach out, and to get to that point of acceptance, so the process of healing uh, can begin. Any final thoughts, Dr. Sharma?
Yes, I think that was wonderful that you reinforce that point of reaching out because that's the way to go. That we cannot work and function in isolation, and too long we'll be actually living in isolation. I keep saying maybe one of the problems that we have is this way we live. That people live in their homes; it's all well cleaned. They go to their cars; it's very clean. They go to their office; it's very clean. And then they go back to their cars, clean, go back to their homes. They're not there socializing and be able to meet with people, build their immune strength. So we're making ourselves too isolated as people. Whilst we're saying we're socially connected, We're not, and we got to be out there more. We need to supportive groups. We see in terms of crime that community policing helps. In terms of loss, we need people to be together, to share, to comfort. So reaching out, being there, getting to persons who are in need, that is a way that we must go. So thank you for reinforcing that point.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. And I look forward. We have a team right now of 14, and we are ready to go to Guyana once we're able to. And we look forward to walking on that seawall and drinking some
Yes.
coconut water. Well, Doc, by the grace of God, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for another session on mental health. And you are grateful, appreciated, and loved not only in Guyana, but also around the world. God bless you.
God, thank you.